Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Back again.
Here is the infamous photo of Cindy's fingers when she was panicking trying to get a photo of the triangle.
I was, and thank goodness I got those fingers.
She sure did. You got to recognize, too, this was after driving, I think we drove 13 hours that day. Something like 13 hours straight. We stopped for gas and to let Zeke and Sassy do their thing. But otherwise, we were going 13 hours straight, and we didn't have a place completely lined up. We ended up just boondocking in a gas station that night. So if there's any question about, why didn't you get a better quality picture? Well, that's why.
Yeah, because I was pretty out of it. And plus, you add to the fact that this was absolutely crazy awesome to the eye. You know, you sit there, it's like one of those things where you see it's happening, but you can't hardly believe it's happening. So I had that going through my head too. It's crazy.
Yeah, as I'm going to try to zoom in on whatever we could zoom in on. That looks kind of creepy. But you could see anyway. But the thing that is missing from this that you can only get with Cindy's phone is it has that motion thing. Right. So it's almost like a little bit of a video, because it wasn't just these lights. There was brilliant, beautiful blue lights that were on it. Such a nice color of blue that were very bright. And she did capture, we could probably do a video from my phone of your phone, and we'll include that at some point in time so you can see the motion. Because this thing was so cool. I mean, it was just such a good sighting. But I would say to anybody, if you want to go, and I forget what the name of that camp is. This was off in Mississippi, and I forget what the name of it is. It's below Hattiesburg. There is a military base there. So now we know they have, TR-3Bs, flying triangles on this base for sure. And they do, I could sense and feel the bombing that was constantly going on because they do a lot of wargaming there.
Absolutely. And it was just so crazy how that thing was so close to us and just rode right along with us for a while. You would think that I would be able to get a better picture, but it was probably at least a solid minute. And, it was dark and I had the window down and, I was just trying to snap pictures just to get anything. So, this is the anything we ended up with.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, it was really cool. And there'll always be doubting Thomases out there that, say, oh, come on, you couldn't get a better picture.
Always. Gotta love those doubting Thomases.
Yes. And we see bright meteor, fireball, once again lights up the sky from New Hampshire to North Carolina. So, more and more incoming. Did you see it? NASA's Meteor Watch says a very bright fireball was spotted across the East Coast, 12:26 a.m. Sunday morning. Yes, it's just the skies are loaded, guys. The skies are absolutely loaded. Okay, it's Camp Shelby. That's the name of it. And so if you go on 98 South, that's where we were, right next to Camp Shelby, south of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And hey, they got the stuff there, and that thing was not using conventional propulsion.
Oh no, I mean that thing just glided just like a bird.
Silent. Asteroid 2021 F01 fly by Earth at 0.84 lunar distance. This is the 29th, within 1 lunar distance since the start of the year, 7th this month. Yeah, this year is going to break all sorts of records, I think, across the board. 2021 FH is going to fly by at 0.61 lunar distance as well.
That's really kind of close.
It is. But, we're probably going to end up with 110, 120 at the pace we're on right now, maybe a little bit more. And again, please do send your prayers as we see the worst flood since 1971 hit parts of New South Wales in Australia. It's very, very tenuous, and again, it's adding to the crop loss. It's adding to the human misery index, the animal misery index. The only ones that are enjoying this are the ducks.
I know, and Rosemary heard from her this morning, and she said they've had to evacuate horses now.
Yeah, and it's supposed to continue, unfortunately. 10 inches of rain, 24-hour period. All sorts of records broken. The government has signed 34 natural disaster declarations as of March 21st.
That's quite a lot.
And let's jump thousands of miles away from here, and we see, people waist to chest deep high in Peru. And this is the northern regions of Peru. And Peru is on our bucket list. If, once everything starts to settle down, maybe in about 10 years, most definitely we're going to be making our way to hopefully explore like all these amazing, mysterious things over in Peru, from Nazca Lines, Pumapunku, Lake Titicaca area. I mean, this is one of those mysterious areas that's most definitely a place that has been used by extraterrestrial beings for a very, very long time, inner earth beings as well.
Oh, very active on many different levels and dimensions.
Yeah, it's 160 millimeters of rain, 24 hours, and much of it in a 3-hour period. Soil can't handle that. And so, again, all across the globe, we're having issues. There is no perfect place. There is no perfect place. And anywhere you go, you're going to have something to deal with. So is the big one going to hit soon? Mysterious moving geyser impacts major roadway in Imperial County, California. Yeah, this thing is moving. This is pretty wild. It's the only known geyser in the world that actually is moving. It's a bubbling pool of mud. And it's literally been moving since they discovered it back around 1953. Well, I should take it back. They discovered it in 53. It started moving in 2016. That feels a little ominous, moving about 10 feet a month.
I know, 10 feet a month, that's like a lot.
Yes, Cascadia, I think that when Cascadia goes, the big one will go shortly thereafter. And I still feel like it'd be those two and then the New Madrid. Iceland, we know it's erupting over there. Antarctica registers negative 70 Celsius above average sea ice extent. Spain suffers the coldest snowfall since 1939. We're heading into colder times now. The volcanic activity is going to make that an obvious fact.
It is. Yeah, we got these things to really keep an eye on.
Very curious here, too, because study shows water hundreds of feet below the surface of Lake Michigan is warming. And what's one of the first things they talk about? The human-induced, climate change. Yeah, but how about maybe volcanic activity down there as well?
I know. I mean, these are all things that we need to keep an eye on with everything changing the way it is.
Yeah, we've been seeing more activity from the sun as well. And here we're jumping over to space weather. And we can see we got as high as a KP index of 6 back on the 20th, I should say. And then back up to a KP 5 over here in this time frame. So we'll keep an eye on the activity because things are ramping up. Any way you look at it, they're really ramping up.
Definitely. And it does affect our moods too.
Certainly does, and Cindy had brought this up before, because one of her skills that we really haven't talked about is the fact that she's kind of an animal whisperer. She could definitely communicate with animals, as well as many other non-humanoid types of beings. As we had a visit last night by an ant person, and a benevolent one, most definitely as well. But here you see horror as raging elephants fight in Russian circus, sending audience scrambling for the exit and sparking an investigation. And she got right away the reason.
Well, they're in pain. They're frustrated, and there's specifically pain issues going on that really they kind of lose their mind. And who wouldn't,
Yeah. Well, you have been a person that's gone through some massive toothaches lately, and it can make you miserable. And I'm thankful that you don't share that misery too much with me.
No, I don't keep it covered up, but it does drive someone to the point of madness, because especially with these creatures, because they can't tell anybody, they can't express what's going on, so they have to, whenever they need to, they have to like exert this information, and it's because they're in severe pain.
Yeah, it's really sad. I think if humans were to realize that humans really are not at the top of the food chain, perhaps we would start treating animals better, and especially if we did recognize that divine feminine side. So here we see an extreme method for stress management pushes for the mainstream. This is Wim Hof, and he's done wild things. He did a 61-minute ice bath for his 61st birthday recently.
Oh,
Of course, he has his own breathing method, and of course, in Qigong, there's many different breathing methods that you could use to basically alter all of your body functions. We could slow our breathing down to very, very slow levels, and that really does help with clearing out the mind too. And we could also speed it up, and we could keep ourselves warm in the cold, as we've shared. We've been out there meditating in the snow, while flakes are coming down.
yeah, absolutely. So it does teach you a little bit of mind control.
Yes, and I'll say that I was topless. We'll keep this PG at the best.
Yeah, okay.
And this is something we don't do enough. Most of us. Is it safe to work out barefoot? Going barefoot's good for your feet, but it can be dangerous at first. And I'm going to talk more about the grounding aspect. As we've been doing so much traveling, and we did like 3,000 miles in like 10 days. Some days we didn't move at all. Other days we knocked off 500, as much as 800 miles in a day. And we didn't get enough chance to actually get our feet on the ground. And it's a challenge depending on where you're at, because some places we're at, there's snow on the ground, but it's okay. You could still keep warm doing it if you use proper breathing techniques and proper mindset. But yesterday, when I had a chance, I just sat out there and had my feet flat on the ground, and the magnetic attraction was just so intense. It's like an amazing magnet, the pull of the earth. And then I was sensing again the heartbeat of the earth itself. And if we could do that, as a society, more and more people practice things like Wim Hof's methods, Qigong, meditation, Tai Chi, just getting outdoors and looking at it from the point of view of, it's not a natural resource. We're part of it. It's part of us. We're part of it.
It is. That's really important to recognize, because we strengthen each other. Think about a magnet with the positive and negative working together. We strengthen each other.
Yeah, and just what came to my mind was I saw a picture of this big game hunter, this lady that people were riled up against because she was in Africa and she had shot a giraffe. And then that made me think about somebody else in one of the comments recently saying, do you think there's any validity to the whole thought line in the movie Predator? Because in Predator, it's the aliens coming here for sport and hunting humans. And, you think about the karmic repercussions of that. Again, it's about, we got to get used to living in harmony with the earth, and recognizing that we're all individual cells in the body of the planet itself.
So important to get that in our minds, that we're all one.
The Gospel of Peace, I think, put it so well. It was talking about our Father, which is spirit, in the heavens and in the higher realms, but also talking about how you need to respect and honor the mother, because then her angels will tend to your body. And, again, this is part of why we have a shortened lifespan, too, because we see from sources all over the world that there was a time when people are recorded as living like 1,000 years or better. It's said that in the yugas, in the dark age that we've been in, human lives are very short, less than 100 years. In the next stage, you could live up to 1,000. The next stage after that, 10,000. The next stage after that, 100,000. And I know there's people that will look at it because they've gone to school, taken some biology classes and things like that, and say that's just an impossibility. Well, that's an impossibility from the mindset of what you've been taught. Who taught you that? Who is giving you this mindset? Who's looking at everything as if it's just machinery instead of the spiritual component? We know there's documented cases now of 3 and 4 strand DNA, and we heard back in the 80s and even before that our DNA is going to be mutating, and eventually, perhaps 12 strand DNA will be the norm. In which case, we were just showing in the previous video capture of Captain Marvel, and if you look at her or if you look at Thor, with their eyes are all glowing and their ability to just do amazing things like the gods. Well, it's said that in these other ages, humans can become like the gods. And so they're getting us ready for some people to have unusual, abnormal powers. Perhaps not taking their body and physically flying, but there are cases amongst levitating. There's been multiple cases. There's been some filmed, in fact. And, of course, there'll be people that say, oh, that's just Photoshopped. You're always going to have the naysayers. And then there's a lot of naysayers that are naysayers because they're deep in certain industries that make so much money off of controlling people with, the products of those industries. They don't want people realizing that we can cure ourselves just with thought, just with changing our diet, just with meditation, Qigong, things like that. No. They want us completely dependent on the system.
Yeah, because if we're completely dependent on the system, then they're in complete control of us.
Yes, exactly. So, guys, thanks so much for being part of the family. Make sure you are subscribed and have the bell clicked. Thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. As always, if you need to reach us for an appointment, it's EEARTS at ProtonMail or evolutionaryenergyarts at gmail.com. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.